People ask themselves, does God really exist? And they should ask this question because they don't feel God anywhere, they don't see God anywhere. They just live their lives in this reality, and everything is so mundane, usual. So it doesn't look so divine, everything around us. We see divineness maybe for a fraction of a moment when we see a beautiful landscape or we have a beautiful moment. So we can feel the divineness of the creation. But in everyday life, we are too busy looking at things just as they appear to us. They can look very boring. Can God be boring? Can God be evil, as we often see in the news and around us? Can God be the annoying person that blocked my parking spot and we got into an argument? Can God be this person? Can God be everything we don't like, or everything we see around us so ordinary? How can God be these things? He has to be something different. He has to be detached from everything. He has to have different qualities. He has to be special. We are not special. This reality is not special. How can it be God? How can you say that you, an ordinary woman, and us, and everything, and the chair you are sitting on, this lovely sofa, is God? How can you say that? God has to be something different. Above all things, creates everything, controls everything. He has to be different. And this is the grand mistake of the human perception of God, this division of us and God. We believe that we are separate from God. And even if people say, I know that everything is oneness, they usually mean that everything in this reality is oneness, not God. Even if they say that God is one with all the creation, they don't believe it. They secretly feel that there is something else higher in this reality that we don't see, and this is God, in this oneness. And they search. And this is why many people are enslaved to the methods, to the system, to what I call religion. It's a very pagan way to see divinity, the way that humanity is currently worshiping God. How humanity is worshiping God is through rituals, clothes, prayers, scriptures, many, many books, and figures of authority that have all the answers for the seekers. They have the answers because they got it from God and the scriptures, and they know the answers for you when you look for God. All these things take you away from yourself, and that means takes you away from God. Everything you do in order to worship God through the usual systems, ways, is drawing you back and chaining you, like in chains. You're like in chains when you worship God through the way of other people, of something else. Because you are yourself what you are looking for. You are God. And if you believe you exist now, so God exists. When we say and ask, does God exist? There are two answers, yes and no. Yes, because this is everything we see is an expression of its divinity, its oneness, its holiness. And no, because in the ultimate state, the oneness is empty and it doesn't exist. Because we are used to think about existence in a very materialistic way. What is? We can't grasp that God isn't, is not. It's not playing in our game, in humanity's game. And humanity is playing a game. Every day we wake up and we believe that we are separate beings. We live in some kind of reality and world. We act. And somewhere there is something that is watching us and guiding us. And this thing is very high and mighty and distant. And we can connect to it. God forbid we will connect to God. How am I, such a miserable creature, can connect to this holiness and divinity? Only the very, very special people, the saints, they are the people who can connect to God through words, to know God. But God is us, and the grand plan of everything is knowing ourselves. And knowing ourselves is knowing that we are God. And if we are God, it doesn't matter who we are, where we are, what we did up until the moment that we decided that we will understand who we are and we'll try that. The door is always open to us to find out who we are and to realize that we are it, that. Realizing that we are God is very humbling, because the understanding of what this reality is understanding of oneness itself and the understanding of the holiness of everything around us, including us. So we have to accept ourselves and accept the reality that we're living as the divine in order to connect to it, in order to understand what is this all-nothingness, God, Creator. Pick a word, any word. None of them are true. Never will they be. Cannot be described. But it is a possibility, and it's the only possibility for people as a race, as humanity, to evolve, to understand what is happening, to free ourselves from this ignorance that belongs to ancient times. We live in, we apparently, it looks like a lot of time has passed since the dawn of history, and mankind has progressed up until this point. So it looks like now the year is 2022 and humanity is evolved. But humanity is shockingly under-evolved in this matter of knowing itself. And this is the next leap and jump. There are many religions in this world. Each has a set of rules and structures that compel you to obey it in order for you to meet God. All these religions. You can be a Jew or a Muslim or a Christian or a Buddhist. You never get to meet God. You never get to know God. You never get to answer this question yourself. Does God exist? Why are you asking this question? If He exists, if it exists, why don't you know for yourself? Yes, that is and isn't. Why can't you tell if religion leads you in a very good way to knowing this God? If all its purpose of the religion is to lead you to this understanding, to God. So many religions have forgotten that the main purpose was to connect to God, was to know God, to act in this knowing, in this world. And they concentrate on the unimportant factors of this belief system and the merges of this belief system, and they sanctify and sacrifice the person on an altar of maintaining this religion, because only the ritual, the structure, the community can sustain itself and continue. So they have to make this the most important thing. So instead of connecting to God, you connect to the community, you connect to the rituals, you connect to the past, you connect to the books, you connect to everything that is not the real thing. And it's a very clever disguise, because the higher meaning is God in religion. So people, it's a paradox, they look for God, and they take the best way to reach God, and this is the worst thing they can do, because it takes them away from themselves, and they are what they are looking for. Looking for God and assurance of its existence is ridiculous, because it surrounds you so beautifully. It is you. It is everything. It says it. It screams it. In every breath you take, every inhale of air that you inhale to your nostrils, you know this is it. It says it. This is me. I am you. This is it. And we don't see it. People don't see it. They look. They say, okay, if I'll read something in a book, I'll get closer. It's so funny. I can't grasp now in this state how it's possible not to see it. Before my shift, I was living as a Jewish woman, because I was raised in a Jewish family, a very traditional one, and I knew all the rituals and I liked them, and I lit the candles in Saturday, Friday evening, and celebrated all the holidays and believed in this God, this specific God, this specific community. This way is true. But now I know that it's not. Judaism is not the way. Buddhism is not the way. Christianity is not the way. There is no way to reach God. A structured way will always take you away from this oneness, from yourself. So if someone is searching for himself, God or nothingness, he should start very, very close. Understand that his expression, this expression, is the expression of the thing he's looking for, and look at himself and see what he can do with this expression. Because just as this world is always moving and creating itself, and it's so busy, this reality, this apparent reality, it is an expression of God, and this is God is active. It's activeness and aliveness, and we have to take these qualities and see them in ourselves, and then express liveliness, express the activeness, because this is the way. The world doesn't stand still, and neither should we. We should move ahead. We should develop. We should evolve with what we have, with the talents we have. We should give this present to the world, and we should give it because this all-nothingness, or God, is good, even though it can contain the bad. He created the bad, the evil. It's also God's creation. It's part of it. We are this creation, this wonderful creation is God, is all-nothingness, is this thing that we ask ourselves, does it exist? Of course it exists. This is what you see around you. If you believe you exist, if you believe you look at the mirror and you see something, so you have to believe this, that God exists, that this all-nothingness exists, because you can see it. But this all-nothingness doesn't exist because its existence is emptiness and non-existence. So it doesn't exist in the way that humanity believes something is existing, through the possibility of itness. It's not something that exists. It's nothing that exists. So to say that nothing is existence is a paradox, but this is all nothingness. It is non-existence as we know it, as humanity knows it. But it is existence in the highest level. It is a silent and sacred, undescribable, unnamed phenomena. And the separate form, which is us, is its expression. So we are not divided, we are not apart from this non-existence. So basically we do not exist, just as it doesn't exist. But just as it expresses itself through the illusion of matter and time and space, so we can say that God exists.
Nothing good, nothing bad, nothing ventured, nothing gained, nothing stillborn or lost, nothing further than proof, nothing wilder than you, nothing older than time.